You're going to start a business with your significant other. Don't do what?
I would say don't stop communicating is probably the biggest thing.
What was your philosophy around growth?
This would be where I'm low risk and she's high risk. She would be take as much money as you can, grow as fast as possible. Where I was always like, I got a great job. Like, we're making good money. You know what I mean? The best thing that ever happened to me was I was in San Francisco and I got served papers for being sued for the term Binky by Edgewell Corporation, who owns Playtex, and they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. This is the first time I've ever got like served. When you die, what are people gonna say? James got rich? Nobody cares.
Matt Fisler, the founder of Binky Bros. I want to say the co-founder. Your wife is in this with you.
Yeah, no, I tell everybody, I work for the boss. I don't even say her name. I'm just the boss. Who's the boss?
You've got a boss.
I got a boss. Yeah.
We founded the company together. And if we were to go and look at the Binky Bro headquarters, you would find you, her,
me,
and the crew.
My wife, Rachel, her brother, my neighbor, Sean, who I met cleaning my windows years ago. So we brought Sean on. And then the funny part, it's actually most of either neighbors' kids, or I do a lot of coaching for Mountain View. And so either high school kids, at one point, I think the whole soccer team was employed by us. So I would say it's a very like community vibe. And then if we ever need extra people, I go to the high school kids and say, hey, it's $50 for every extra kid you bring. And before you know it, it's like I've got the graduating class of 26 showing up. So
yeah. Well, anytime I come into Provo now, I see this amazing warehouse. I see your sign right there. And we're in Utah right now. We're at Casey Baugh's Case Study Studio. And, man, we go back. We're almost 20 years back now.
You can tell people how we met?
About 18 years.
Come on.
Scotland, Edinburgh, Scotland. Oh, that's probably not where we met. But we met in Scotland.
This would go to one of those stories where, like, I don't know, you may not want this out there, but do you remember how I really, really remember you?
Oh, no.
Do you want to know this?
For it.
Do you want to know this?
Yeah.
I was in Inverness. So if you go to Scotland, we were missionaries, right? So there's 170 missionaries. There's a place called Inverness, Loch Ness, that whole monster, that whole story. It's a top third of Scotland is like the beautiful part of Scotland. So when you think of Scotland, all the photography comes from that top third. The bottom 2/3 is not that pretty. I was almost stabbed to death there. So I have mixed feelings of Scotland, but I was with Peacock, a guy named Brant Peacock, and we went to go visit you in the hospital. Do you remember that? And this guy's like, I think he fell and has an ingrown hair. And we go in there and you have this thing. Do you remember this?
Oh, I remember this. Yes, I remember this.
I literally went in there. I'm like, whoa, what happened to you?
Listen, okay.
This would have been 2008. That was my first memories of James McCabe. And then I was telling you this morning, my second memory would have been we were walking through the Royal Mile, going to the tattoo, which we could talk about later, but I just bought tickets for my kids.
Did you come in 2008? It had to have been earlier than that.
To January 2007.
Yeah.
I graduated at 17, so I had 2 years.
Yeah, because you were a year behind me.
Yeah.
I came in January 2006.
Yep.
I fell. Okay.
For the record.
Listen. We can get. Or you want to tell the people?
Look, all I know is I met James. James is in a hospital bed, and he's like, "Dude, I've got this growth or something. I don't even know what it was." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "No, I got one." I'm like, you gotta show me. Where is it? Like, I don't know if I want it. You gotta show me. At this point, I'm here. You gotta show me. Anyway,
listen, we're getting real personal.
We knew each other. I'll tell you what it is. Well from day one.
I'm not like a huge fan of hair.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So, whatever it is, I shave my...
Trim. That's all right,
trim up.
Just throw it out there. That's all right.
We go and we have a conference, and we're sitting down for 10 hours a day for 3 straight days.
Yeah.
And I start to, get, a little irritated, man, I don't know if I got some, razor burn or something like that, but, little discomfort. I go to a hospital, someone's passing away, and they wanted us to come say a prayer with them before they pass away.
Of course.
Hey, would you mind saying the prayer? I'm like, sure, I got this. I go and start the prayer. I wake up
The spirit hits you real
and
hard.
everyone's around me, and I'm on the ground.
Yeah.
I fall. I passed out.
Yeah.
I think, what felt like I broke my tailbone.
Sure.
But whatever I did, it caused some sort of reaction where I got some sort of ingrown something right at the base of my tailbone. And I wake up like when I can feel like, man, that's uncomfortable. I wake up one night, I'm like, hey, this is the most pain I've ever felt. We got to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
It's like 2 a.m.
Sure.
And I get there. They have all these interns. I don't want to call them interns, but like whoever. And they're like, hey.
Like, let's be honest. If you go to Scotland, I think your MD program is significantly less than the United States. I don't know if that's true or verified, but I feel like half the nurses or the doctors, you're like,
yeah, basically.
You're like 24.
Basically what happens is they're like, hey, we're going to need to like cut that open, drain it, clean it.
Yeah.
And we want them to see. So I've got like 8 people. I'm just butt naked. And they're just looking at my butt and trying to like, and they're all like looking around. I'm like, I don't care. You know what it is. But that was it. That's how we met.
Fisler. Hey, what's up, James? Whoa.
What's happening? So we met. This is what they call that, trauma bonding, man. You were my brother for life after that.
Yeah,
it's like you were there for me when I was in my darkest place.
I'm mentally locked in for the rest of my life.
I forgot that story.
Yeah. No, I was thinking that when I was driving here. I was like, what is my actual first memory of James? I'm like, he probably doesn't want to talk about this, but no,
that's it, man. That's it. To this day, man, I think about that. I still like I'm a little leery in hospitals since then. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I can handle blood, needles, shots. Hospitals, just going in the hospitals are kind of weird for me.
I get it. Yeah.
So you get home from Scotland.
I get home from Scotland.
And life starts. You start, my memory of you telling your stories, like at some point you went and got a job. You're in Utah, and there's a company called Qualtrics.
Yeah, I'll back up before that, actually,
a
little bit. I got home from the mission, and everybody here in Utah does door-to-door sales, which makes sense, as like a, whatever, an RM, you come home. Anyways, we started this little company. This is back in the day when like windshields were like, the 15 was having a lot of construction, and so you saw these like rock chip companies everywhere. And they had these little tents. Hey, insurance will cover your rock chip, which is good. It's kind of halfway true. Anyways, my buddy and I, we got home from college. And people always talk about, I didn't like, there's so much work in college. Same with high school. I'm like, if you didn't like it, you're doing it wrong. I think that's a good philosophy. Like if you don't like high school or college, you're doing something wrong. But the first job we had, my buddy and I were like, hey, let's make a company. We called it A&M Glass. It was Andrew and Matt Glass. And we used to go door to door. And the funny part was like, we'd go fix these windshields. You'd find somebody with a rock chip. You'd get paid $80. So I would do 2. Make $160 a day. And then I lived at the King Henry pool. I would work out and tan all day long, do that for like an hour and a half in the afternoons, and people would be like, well, you don't even work. And I'm like, that is true. Well, I kind of work. And that was like my first real glimpse into like, this is better than like an actual real job, is if I can work for myself and find a way to make the same amount of money as everybody else, but like in a fifth of the time, that is attractive to me. But yeah, came home from the mission, started that, went to business school. In business school, I shadowed a guy that worked at Qualtrics. So there's a bunch of tech companies now in Utah, and this is when the tech boom was first happening. I actually interviewed with Qualtrics, and it was the weirdest interview I've ever been to, and I won't give names here, but there's one, the company maybe had 30 people, and I walked out, and that was the weirdest experience I've ever had, and I won't even tell you what happened, but I'm like, I will never work for these guys. Fast forward, I do an internship at Target. So this is the end of business school. And here's a good business school lesson for you. Networks matter, right? I got into business school. Before the mission, my grades are terrible. I get home from the mission, and I have a youth leader at home. He said, what are you up to? I'm like, I don't know. We just kind of started our own business. I'm trying to get into business school, but like my grades from pre-mission suck. And I'm trying to redo all those. He's like, bro, my sister's the dean of admissions. Makes one call. Boom, you're in the business school. That was the first opening to like experience of like, yeah, the network might matter. Anyway, so then you get to the end of business school, you have to do this internship. And I was, working on my jacked and tan at the pool, and I'm talking to this girl, And she's like, hey, I'm from Minnesota. I'm like, hey, I need an internship. This is really weird. Do you happen to know? There's a bunch of huge Fortune 100 companies in downtown Minneapolis. And the top 4 internships in the country were the big 4, and then Target, which is really, really, really random. And she's like, hey, yeah, my neighbor's the CMO. Let me give a call. So then she gives me his phone number. I call him. I'm like, hey, I need an internship. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. You're friends with her. You're in. So it's like, the one thing I've learned out of business school is, maybe it actually matters more about who you know and what your network is compared to probably anything else. Anyways, I go to Target. That's 10,000 people in suits in that building. And I was in charge of merchandising girls' toys, which sounds like the weirdest thing of all time, but it's probably the most difficult division to work in there because it's unpredictable. So it's like, you got to, James, what's the famous doll for 2026? Do you know? No.
A Labubu.
Yeah, maybe you do because you have a little girl. But yeah, I'm like, I don't know what the hell what am I even doing here? And the crazy part is they give you these massive budgets. Go spend $50 million. Don't be wrong. They'd always say a seven-figure digit is rounding error. We don't care. I'm like, this is a weird environment. But I was sitting outside of that. So I took the offer to work with them after college. And I'm sitting in my car, and I'm looking at the Target headquarters, and you have to either wear a blazer and no tie and a collared shirt, or you have to have no blazer, a collared shirt, and a tie. And I was sitting there, this is 7 in the morning, and I'm just watching 10,000 people in suits go into this building. And I'm like, this is terrible. Dude, I can't do this. I can't do this. So I bailed, told them, I know I accepted the offer, I'm out. And then I come back to Utah, and then this goes back to the network. So I had job shadowed that guy at Qualtrics. I took that first interview in college. I was like, this is whack. And then I called that guy back up. His name was Bryce Winkleman. Thank you, Bryce. And I'm like, hey, I need a job. He's like, yeah, of course, dude. You were awesome. Come on in. Once again, I'm like, dude, network is literally everything. Everything in my life is because I knew somebody who knew somebody, or didn't burn a bridge, or just have a good attitude. And I'm like, it's just worked out. The funny part, though, at the time, the pay was half. So the salary, I'm going to dog on Ryan Smith and Qualtrics here for a second. It was $24,000, which at the time, out of business school, everybody's getting paid. Average salary was $52,000. The good accounting, BYU, you go to BYU to either do pre-med for the most part, or you go to the business school and you do accounting. Accounting program's number 1 in the world. But those guys are doing, 70, something at least back in the day at the time. So they're I'm like, do I accept this for $24,000? I remember telling my father-in-law, he said, what are you doing? And here's the interesting part. So I talked to my dad. My dad started a tech company. He went to BYU. He hopped around. He actually lived in Arizona. He's like, it's too hot. And then he went to Portland. He's like, too cold. And then he went to San Diego, and that's where I grew up. But he was writing code and tech and all this stuff. And he's an interesting guy, really clever. Double major in mathematics and engineering. And this is before the internet was really, really, really kicking. He's like, hey, there's no networks, right? So you go to a big business. Let's say you go to 3M. And you want to print something. You're so used to, I put it on my phone, I print it. On my laptop, I print it. That didn't always exist. You actually had to be plugged into the actual machine. And so he came up with an idea. It was called a one port, where you could plug in, and then you could put everything onto a network. And so my dad quit his job. And I always joke around. I'm like, I never saw you work. And he was one of those guys where I never really got it, but you go to church or something on Sunday and people are like, I just want what your dad does. I'm like, my dad's a loser. You don't want what my dad does? My dad plays racquetball all day long. He doesn't even work. And they're like, you'll understand when you get older. I'm like, I don't think so, But my dad literally is he survived 28 years off of one piece of code, and it was a device that put things that were antiquated businesses onto a network. And talking to him as I got older, I'm like, why didn't you blow up the business? He's like, there's a business that copied our idea that hit the board and went massive. He's like, but that would require more work. My goal was time. I'm like, as I get older, I'm like, that becomes a lot more wise. Anyways, this goes back to my Target story, right? So I'm like, should I take this Qualtrics job? It's almost embarrassing that it's $24,000. And I remember talking to my dad, and he's like, dude, you have zero risk. Zero risk. You're married, but you have no kids. You can survive off $24,000. Rachel can go do a job why would you not? He's like, the opportunity for that to work might be slim, but it's way more attractive than like go work for like corporate America. You can always get a job at 3M. You can always get a job at Target. You can always go get a job at Best Buy. I don't know if that's still around. Is Best Buy still around?
Was in the moment.
Yeah, back in the time. But that was a Minnesota company. But I'm like, all right, like, anyways. So yeah, so I'm like, all right, I'll listen to that was one of those crucial conversations. You ever read the book Crucial Conversations? So I'm like, all right, like, best advice I got from my father was that, where it's like, you don't really have any risk, like all things considered. And so then, yeah, so I took the Qualtrics job. Qualtrics is now worth $28 billion. The division I ran is now worth $400 million. And when I left, I was active employee 40 or something. Wow. So anyways, that was a wild ride.
Yeah.
And the funny part out of all that was like, this is like, if you're LDS, I don't know who watches this podcast, but like, here's my tip for like young men who want to go on missions. My mission absolutely changed my life. Talking about Scotland changed my life. And it changed my life for this one thing. I learned how to grind. Grit. So like, you ever read Angela Duckworth's Grit? It's like the long-term passion and work for like a long-term goal, where it's like, I learned on the mission, I can do something on repeat over and over and over and over. I'm not going to get tired. And so I went to Qualtrics and I was like, talked to Bryce. I'm like, who's the number one guy? It was him. I'm like, I'm just going to, for the first 2 weeks, I'll just study what you do. And I literally memorized everything. I didn't even know what I was saying, but I memorized his whole entire pitch. I had no idea what it actually meant. I didn't know stats. I didn't know any of this stuff. But I'm like, I'll just do what he does. Who makes the most calls? Well, that guy. He made 1,000. Okay, I'll make 2,000. And it was just like one of these weird things that I learned on the mission, where I'm like, maybe I'm a little bit loony, but I'm like, I realized like I can just sit there and do the same thing.
You were a machine. Over
and over and over and over and over, and I'm not really fazed. But I learned that about myself, grit, I would call it, from the mission. So anyways, all those young men, if you're debating about going, do it. Do it 100%.
Scotland was a grind too. Rain season.
Oh, people have no idea. People have no idea. And if you get missions, if you're listening to this and you've been on a mission, look, our mission was weird. And I got to the point where it was like, you report numbers, I hate to say it, but you report numbers on Sunday. Then we reported numbers on Wednesday and Sunday. Do you remember this? Then we reported numbers on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And then we reported numbers Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The mission tripled its productivity, but it came at the cost of sanity, maybe.
Yeah.
I tell people, I'm like, I had 4 kids in 3 years. I was working 2 full-time jobs at Qualtrics, running Binky Bro. I got less than 4 hours of sleep a night. The most stressful time of my entire life.
That last year.
Glasgow.
Yeah,
Glasgow. If you've never been to Glasgow, Glasgow is the rainiest city in Western Europe. It is has the most mental health issues in Western Europe. It has the most drug addiction in Western Europe. It is the most violent city in all of Western Europe. I didn't get fed for a year. I lived there for a year. Almost got stabbed to death several times. Like that place, I tell people, but that is a hellhole.
Yeah.
But it also has a special place in my heart. Anyways, I guess I tell you all of that. Networks matter, but that's how I kind of got into, after the mission. Then I got into Qualtrics, and I kind of kicked off the career. I guess you would say. I don't know if that answered your question. I can't even remember what your original question was.
Yeah, but if you're at Qualtrics and you're seeing this trajectory, and maybe you didn't yet, but if you're on pace to 20 bill, and like there's got to be some momentum, some energy there. Like if I recall right, hiring like crazy, it's becoming the new it company around.
Yeah.
Why not write it out?
Totally. No, the interesting part with like Utah County was you used to go to BYU and then you would leave because there was no jobs here. And I feel like Qualtrics was like the first like insertion of tech that really started to take off. And I was like, hey, now you could go to BYU and you can work here. In the early days, it was funny because it was like you'd have these big VCs come in, Sequoia Capital, and all these big dogs would come in. I'm like, who the heck are these dudes? I was like probably so disrespectful. Clowns, Here's the suits they come in. They'd be like, you have no idea what you're involved with. I'm like, probably not. I also don't really care. Like, I'm just here just to kick it, have a good time, and work hard, and go home. Like, and I didn't. It took me a long time to realize. They'd be like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, no, I think I do. They're like, no, you don't. That you're involved with something that's very, very, very unique. And I think a lot of us young cats, it was their first job. So it's like, I don't know any different. Like, I go to work, I figure out how to sell something, I sell it, I make money, I go home, I didn't even realize like the pace that we were growing was unbelievable. It's like, oh, here's 100 employees, here's 400 employees, here's 600 employees, here's 1,000, here's 2,000, here's 4,000. But I will say this, the best years, I think my biggest takeaway from Qualtrics, even though I made a lot more money at the end, I was happiest at the beginning. When it was fast, to your point, when it was fast paced, it was fast moving, you were always hiring. There was no rules on like what you could try. Like my first training day was, here's a computer, go sell to universities. I was like, well, how the hell do I do that? Like, we don't care, but you better go figure it out. Like that was so it's like a weird thing where it ate up a lot of people and they would get spit out pretty fast. But like if you thought like an entrepreneur, it was like the perfect training ground of like, I'm backed by money, I can do whatever I want. And if you're successful, like there's no ceiling. So it's like a very, very unique first few 2, 3, 4 years. And it was like, it was really, really, really exciting. And then the VC gets involved and all that stuff. Now we have rules.
Yeah.
I remember I give contract to Scott Smith, Ryan Smith's dad. And I'm like, hey, I need you to sign this. He's like, am I going to get sued for this? I'm like, I don't know. I don't read legal language, dude. Just sign it, Okay, done. And then by the end of it, I used to joke around and be like, it's harder to sell things internally than it is to an actual client, But anyways, my point being, those first few years were really interesting and really fun and really exciting. And I learned about myself, like grit matters and I can grind this out. And it's okay to have an empty canvas and create something, but you have to go get it. And if you can do that, then it's like infinite potential.
Yeah. So you're there. Are you feeling, I'll say it in the way that I'd speak to you. Because sure. The fact that you went to business school, like I didn't see that coming. Like I just wouldn't have, I wouldn't have like guessed that. And it wasn't.
You don't guess that I'm a refined businessman, James? Look,
No, not at all. Like it was
hey, you know what though? In my end, I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, seriously, and it is.
I take it as a compliment.
Yeah, like that's coming from somebody that got halfway through an associate's degree. Before I figured out that like, hey, I'm not meant to be operating on people. I'm not meant to do those kind of things. That's not where I will bring the most value. And I don't know if I can sit still long enough to go through 12 years of school or whatever it may be.
Sure.
And I thought the same for you, is that you had this unbelievable energy about you. There's no way some classroom was going to cage you in. But then you were disciplined and it was like this weird, so like when you said it was like, oh, I didn't see that coming. Like Matt's going to school.
Yeah.
Well,
surprise.
Now you're in.
I will say this: I'm the
America.
dumbest one in my family and Rachel's family. We always joke around. I'm like, everybody in our family, my parents, master's degrees, or my sisters and brother-in-laws. Everybody's got multiple master's degrees or PhDs. And I'm like, I barely passed college.
Yeah. Well, and that speaks to your discipline, is that you did though. Like you passed.
Sure.
And you grinded it through, but. It would occur for me, like if I talked to you during that time that you called me and like, hey man, I work at Qualtrics. I'd be like, doing what?
Yeah.
Like, what are you like? Will you go to like an office every day? Like, it just didn't occur for me like that was the path that you were going to go to.
Sure.
At what point did you sit there and say, hey, I think that I want to ride this ride and like use my grit and my work ethic and my abilities to climb the ladder?
Sure.
Or, hey, I've got this idea.
Okay. Yeah. That's a great question. And I would back it up to college, like business school. Like, here's the funny part. I was a marketing major. And what they don't tell you is like, if you study marketing, what are you really going to do? Like, what does that actually really mean in the business world? You're lead gen or you're a sales guy.
Yeah.
But in the business school, they don't tell you that, which I wish somebody would have. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm studying marketing. I'm going to go make Nike commercials. That's what marketers do. Product placement, product price, like all these like basic, no. You either do sales or you do lead gen. But my most interesting class out of all of like college was an entrepreneurship class. And the class was like 2 credits. And every week somebody came in and just told their story. And it was always really, really intriguing. And most of them were e-commerce guys. And they'd be like, I just do whatever my wife wants to sell. I'm just really good at SEO. And then I play golf and I do what I want. And I'm like, that that's really interesting.
Yeah. Now
And I remember this guy's like,
yeah.
you know what you really want? You want to pay 6-figure tithing. I'm like, God, that guy's a baller. You know, like that is. And then there's another guy that came in that I thought was the most intriguing. I still remember this. He's like, here's what you need to think of. What is real risk? He's like, everybody in the United States is like, he's like, you got to really start thinking bigger and broader. Like, what is actual risk? He's like, you're born in the United States. You hit the jackpot. Your parents, you hit the absolute jackpot. What's the worst thing that could happen to you? And I remember he was like going hard on us. I'm like, oh. He's like, what's the worst? You start a business, it fails? You go to jail? No. Do you go to prison? No. I mean, hopefully not. Don't do anything sketch, you know what I mean? But like,
Right.
yeah, he's like, he's like, this is the most interesting thing to me is people weigh risk. People in the United States, he's like, weigh risk so differently than everybody outside the United States. People in the United States are so afraid of losing their things. I gathered all these things and I don't want to lose it. He's like, the worst thing that can happen to you, think about it. What's the worst thing that can happen to you? You
Got to start over.
You downsize. Oh, I got to live in an apartment. Oh, I got to trade in my car and drive to everyone. He's like, that's it. Nobody takes your kids.
Some real first world problems.
Yeah. And that was like one of those, like in that entrepreneurship series, I'm like, dude, that hit me a lot where it's like, I don't really have risk. And I'm like a pretty easygoing guy. I have like mostly just like 4 white t-shirts I wear all the time. I have a couple pairs of shorts. Like I can live off of basically nothing. I don't really care. And for whatever reason, that really hit me, which like, there's not really such a thing as risk. And then seeing my dad work, and then started that A&M glass company, I'm like, I don't think I want to like be a slave for forever. And then doing the entrepreneurship series and saw these guys doing all this stuff with e-commerce. I guess I always had it in the back of my head is like, that is intriguing to me. And that's like real marketing. And that sounds more fun. So now if you go into like Qualtrics, the thing was like, Qualtrics was super fun. And I always tell people it was a fraternity of dudes making a lot of money and selling a lot of tech. But it was pretty wild and pretty fun. And I loved it and enjoyed it. But get to like, I was there almost 11 years. I made the same sell
Oh, I didn't realize you were there that long.
a gazillion times. Yeah, so I was in charge of universities. So selling data research and collection to universities. So it's like, which was really fun too, especially in the early years where it's like, this is where I think it's so hilarious. I'm like, I would be a guest speaker of all things at MIT. I can't tell you how many times I did it, or Harvard, or Stanford. And I'm like talking to all these PhDs. I'm like, don't ask me any difficult questions. Because I know what the answer is, but I can't explain it. That would go to like salesmanship of like studying that guy Bryce, where I'm like, I know what the right answer is, but I couldn't actually pull it apart. But I'm just hoping that by me using the correct terminology, you don't ask any like actual detailed questions. And I got away with that for 11 years, but like, anyway, so like it was really, really, really fun. I've been to basically every major campus you'd been to and all that stuff, and it was hyper growth. And I'm hanging out with all my friends, and it feels like a frat and all that stuff. But there's still a little bit inside of me of like, I built the business for them, but I didn't build it for me. So who really gets rich at the end of this? And there's a big eye-opening experience when like VC comes in. And I'll use this analogy, which I think is perfect, and I caught up to me years later. They'd always say, dude, you were on a rocket ship. You're on a rocket ship. Have you ever heard that? It's like, that's like the big tech
Yeah,
thing.
for sure.
You're in a unicorn. Oh, Sequoia loves you guys are on a rocket ship. Then, okay, let's really break down the rocket ship analogy, which I don't think they think about. What's 90% of the rocket ship? It's fuel. What sits on top? The astronauts. There's 3 people in there. You are on a rocket ship. They just don't tell you what part. You're in the fuel. It burns. And then right before it gets to the orbit, it drops the canister. And 3 people get there, and then the canister falls into the ocean somewhere, right? So like after like 1 or 2 rounds of VC, I'm like, okay, I understand how this really works. Like, I'm building this for somebody else. I'm not building it for me. So my return is not what I valued myself as.
And you've graduated from the $24,000 a year.
Yeah. So
Like,
it's
so
also,
you're not hurting. Like you're
no.
making.
This is what I always tell people to do. I'm like, I don't want to seem bitter or anything, because I'm not. And if you would have told me how Qualtrics played out, I would have signed up 10 out of 10 times. So it was great. But there was a little bit of an expectation of like, that maybe didn't like play out exactly how I thought it would have. That being said, like I learned so many good life lessons, and it set me up for success, and it was so much fun that I would never not do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that started, a couple of years in, probably like 5 or 6 years in. I was telling my wife, I'm like, dude, like we gotta like figure something else out. And it sounds so cliche, but something that's like, like I want that whole idea of like, you do what you absolutely love. You never work another day in your life. I know that's so cliche, but it's like selling software is cool. It's satisfying. I guess that's how I would describe it. It's satisfying, but it's not like I'm super passionate about data collection and customer experience. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So my wife and I and my buddy Nick Applin, who pretty much runs the show over there these days, I was like, hey, let's come up with this thing. I'm like, let's come up with a business idea for 100 days. Every day for 100 days, doesn't matter how stupid it is, let's just throw things on a dartboard. And so, like, it was ridiculous. We'd go on walks and just chat about these things, or somebody text in this group or whatever, and we slowly filled out, here's 100 business ideas, here's how you could make money. We did this every day, which actually is a really fun exercise, which I tell people, like, I want to get into entrepreneurship. Okay, think of a business idea that's different every single day for a certain amount of time. Because if anything, like, you start to look at things differently. Like, somebody made this microphone, but your guy came over here and said, if you tap it, now it makes sounds. Like, okay, is there a better way to do that? Is there a better way where I don't feel like this is stuck to me? Is this water bottle really that good, or does it dent? You start to just look at like everything like a microscope almost, and then you start to think, I can make that better. Somebody's making a lot of money off that. I think I can make it better. Anyway, so we started going through all these lists of ideas, and then naturally I was like, which one could I turn into e-commerce? Because those guys in my entrepreneurship classes did it from home, and they worked whenever they wanted.
The key would be, the theme would be that you were attracted to building a lifestyle brand.
Yes. Yeah. Especially after seeing my dad. Where it's
Let me rephrase that, because brand might be associated with company. You were looking to build a lifestyle business or a lifestyle life. Your father had it.
Yes.
The guys that came and spoke to you in school had it. How can I go and do something I'm interested in that can grow or work that's not me in a blazer, in a tie, in an office, clocking in, clocking out? Like, how can I go and build that? That was the motivation?
100%. If you don't, obviously you don't know my dad, but like my dad, everybody who knows him, they know him as like, it's Dave who plays racquetball. And I kid you not, he plays 5 hours a day. My first job ever was working at the racquetball court. And then I was trained by top 10 racquetball players. No, it's a dying sport. Nobody cares. We used to joke around at BYU because we're on the racquetball team there. I'm like, hey guys, hey ladies, I play racquetball. And the response is always, what the hell is racquetball? I'm like, gosh, it doesn't work. But like that guy, I'm like, he's like, I've never beat him. I've never gotten more than 50% of the points ever. And he's 69. Like, people don't understand. I'm like, I flew him out 2 years ago to play the #1 guy in the world. And like, this is like the top caliber. Like, my dad doesn't just go play racquetball. My dad's like unbelievably legit. But anyways, like watching him, I'm like, dude, that guy just does what he wants and enjoys. Most guys.
My dad was the same.
Most guys, it's golf, but for him,
yeah, my dad built a business, and my brothers and sisters didn't have the same experience that I had.
Yeah.
But by the time I came around, like, he did what he wanted when he wanted.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that he was filthy rich or anything, but like, he'd created the life that aligned for him, that gave him the freedom that he wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, if you
and
know,
this is where you're at.
If you know my dad, here's a funny story. If you know we once had people bring us Christmas to our house. And my dad at that point was like, I think we should spend more money. Like, we live frugal. Like, but the guy was fine. Like, if you know him, he just doesn't care. Worldly things that guy does not care to flex. Doesn't care about anything. You know what he cares about? His family and his time. That's literally it. And if you know the guy, like, and it took me a long time to understand it, because I'm like, why do you live the way you live? But as I get older, I'm like, nah, it's wise. It's actually very, very profound. But I didn't appreciate it maybe so much as a kid. But anyways, watching him, so then you go through all these business ideas. I'm like, yes, I want a lifestyle brand. I want freedom. And I want it to be like fun and build it for me. And so you go through all these ideas, and one of them was like, kids apparel or whatever. But that's a huge idea. And so it all really, really, really started with, we couldn't have kids. I'll tell you the story later, but because we got a foundation, which I do want to make a plug for before
sure.
we leave. But we You couldn't find I had a 20-foot mural of Volcom that I painted in my house when I was a kid. I don't know why my mom let me do that, but I did. And I was always obsessed with those brands. That was my favorite brand. And when Rachel and I were gonna have a kid, I'm like, hey, I want to buy like Volcom stuff or Billabong stuff or Ruka stuff or Quick stuff. And it's really, really difficult to find it, even like a flat-brimmed hat, you know? And I went to H&M and I found one. And we put it on Jordy, and everywhere. Here's a funny story too, which I'll get to. Jordy is named after Jordy Smith, who's one of the top surfers in the world, which we'll do a follow back on that. But anywhere we went, people were like, where'd you get that? That's awesome. It's a baby in a hat, you know? But like, it didn't look like a normal hat. It wasn't Paw Patrol or any of those things. It was just like broified. And it was like after Rachel and I went to an ice cream place, we brought him, and there's 3 people in the ice cream place, like that hat on that kid is killing me. And I remember telling Rachel, I'm like, I think that's it. I think that's it. But this is the days before Alibaba and all these things. So now you're like, how do I find a vendor? How do I find a manufacturer? Because the problem, and a lot of reasons why people don't do kids stuff, is like blank programs for kids is very difficult, or they're very limited. So it's not, you can't just call up like independent and be like, hey, I want 10,000 6-month t-shirts. Like they don't carry that. Same thing with hats, where it's like, I want a hat this big. People are like, no, we don't make it. So really, like, H&M was the only place I ever saw. And so I went on H&M, is like got this big thing where it's like, we only use proper manufacturers, right? There's no child labor and all that stuff. And I'm like, that's a good place to start. But everything was in Chinese or Mandarin, right? Or Vietnamese or Malaysian, but it's listed on their website. And there was thousands. And I was telling Rachel, I'm like, somebody made it. And so I spent weeks every night sending emails off into space with a picture. I'm like, did you make this? Did you make this? Are you manufacturing H&M? Did you make this? And one night, a guy named Tony, which of course that's not his real name, but you know, Tony, Wendy, you know, it's always like, okay. Tony was like, hey, I made those. And I'm like, you're my guy. I was like, is there any way you could make some for me? But the minimums for stuff like this is crazy. Like our minimums, a lot of the times it's like, hey, you got to buy 700, 800 per size per SKU. So like, okay, I want to drop one hat in 2 sizes. Like now I'm with thousands. So now you want to build a whole collection. And I was telling this guy, I was like, hey, like loyalty matters to me. You responded, I appreciate it. If this works, I will use you forever. But I'm like, I need my minimums to be tiny. And he's like, I'm like, what extra fabrics do you have? Just take pictures of extra fabric that you're going to toss. I will use that to design my first stuff. So he sent me a bunch of these pictures of extra fabric. I went into PowerPoint because I'm not like a textile guy, you know, like little logo here. They look so bad, dude. I should have brought one. And then we ended up buying 8 hats, 800. They show up to the house. And I'll talk about this when we talk about the foundation. But
you had the name at that point? These are branded Binky Bro?
Branded Binky Bro. I had $42,000 in the bank. I spent $36,000 of that to get our first kid through IVF. So now I have $7,000. I spent $5,500 on baby. I always laugh. I'm like, I'm in the baby hat business, baby. Let's go. You know, I spent $5,500 on that. I had like $1,500 left in the bank. And I'm like, I can't believe we're like write a check for this. And not only that, you like send it off through some wire to like
another country.
Yeah, who knows where this is actually really going. Sure enough, they showed up, and I'm like, Rach, there's 0 chance we're going to sell some of these. And day 1, we sold 13, and then day 2, day 3, nothing. But anyways, that's how the idea came about. That's how it started. And then it's just been a slow grind. The number one thing that bothers Rachel, which I think is so funny, is people, wow, like Binky Bro blew up overnight. Like, good for you guys. She's like, and she's always so sweet about it. Yeah, we're just working hard. She said afterwards, I get the eye roll of like, if you only knew the amount of, because I was working at Qualtrics, right? And I'm like, I would do that. I would leave at 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m., hit the gym, do all that stuff, come home at 6:30, hang out with the kid for an hour, and then work on this from 8 to 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Every day, 7 days a week, for years.
People look at you like you're crazy while you're building it, and then
you
have a brand that goes up, and it's like, man, you're so lucky.
Years later, yeah, of course. What people don't see is like, it starts to catch a little wind, but like it got to the point to where it was like, I had 9 people that would show up at my house every day at 9 o'clock. and we would transform the whole entire living room. We'd move all the furniture, everything, and it turned into a warehouse. And my whole entire basement was filled with inventory. And then they would leave at 2 a.m., 7 days a week. But the problem with that was like Rachel's always like, hey, I can't just like sit and watch TV because I feel bad. I'm like, but you're paying them. She's like, I know, but like, that's weird. That's a weird vibe. You know, you sit there. I just want to watch. I want to watch a show. I got all these like people behind me working. So it's like, yeah, you know, people don't see that part where it's like, man, like, no, this is actually like taking a toll on just life. It's like fun, but
Are we allowed to? Are we allowed to be working out of a house? Like, is this like, are we doing this right? Like, there's all sorts of things that kind of go into.
Well, there's two things where I'm like, I got to get this out of my house. There was one night a storm comes through, and I'm like, what is it? Because we used to use like just put it on our porch, and the UPS guy would come. And then eventually they're like, hey, you got to pallet this. But before that, we'd had these huge stacks, and this windstorm came through. And people's orders are blowing all over the place. So I'm running through, just my underwear, just through the neighborhood in snow, barefoot. And I'm like, oh, crap, I got to get all these. I'm like, who on their camera has this? And at that moment, I'm like, this sucks. And then we used to have 18-wheelers that would come through the neighborhood. And so I'd get these guys. I remember this one call. It was like 1 a.m. on a Sunday night. And he's like, hey, I'm here for a delivery. I'm like, what? But it's a semi-truck in this little suburb in my neighborhood on my street. And I'm like, bro, like, you can't just drop this at my house. It's a full semi-load, you know? But I don't know what I was thinking because obviously I ordered it. But, yeah, you start to run into problems like that where you're like, okay, like, maybe we're onto something, number one. Number two, okay, we probably like actually got to treat this like a real business and start to scale it, including like get out of my house, you know, for our own sanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you speak to somebody right now that's thinking about starting something with their wife?
Yes.
Like right now, you guys are building this.
I can't tell you how many people come to me. Yes.
Yeah. Right there, and you call it. Which what I hear in that is that she's very active in the business, and I almost regret not having her here in this conversation because I think it could have been really valuable to have you two share some of the experiences you have.
Sure.
But right now, someone wants to start a business with their wife. What are you telling them?
It's a unique dynamic. I'll tell them that. And it took us a little while to like figure it out. And this isn't to be like a sappy Matt, but it's like I don't really like break down too often. After I quit Qualtrics, I remember I had this night where I was just crying in bed. My wife's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, I used to be somebody. You know, I had clout. I was a director. I had a team. Like I had a purpose. And now I'm like, no offense to her, you know, but I'm like, now I hustle with just us. And there's no camaraderie. It was just, you know, so it's like, it was a very strange dynamic for me to leave from going to like, I'm talking with the best and the brightest in the entire world. I go spend a day with Stanford, then I go to Harvard, then I go to MIT, then I'm at Berkeley, then I'm at all these places. And then now I'm just hanging out in a warehouse with high school kids. And I'm like, dude, like, this is like, I don't know if I can do this, actually.
But this is what you wanted. You wanted your own thing.
I know.
I
know. And my wife's like, you're crazy. You're crazy. Like, get over yourself. Like, my wife is the best at, like, putting me in check. And she had to do it this week for another thing, which that's a whole other story. But, like, really good at, like, this is what, exactly to your point. This is what you wanted. Now you're going to cry about it? Like, get over yourself. And it took a little while just to figure out, like, what's the dynamic, right? So you asked about starting, like, a business with your wife. It's unique because there's no separation of anything at all. I'm the brand, she is the brand. We are the business, we are the couple, this is our home. You know, it's like the whole thing is kind of actually weird because it's like we have 4 kids. They model for the brand. We go on trips, we take pictures for the brand. But like, so there's no like off switch, which I think is fantastic, which gives us a lot to talk about. So like people considering doing it, I think it's perfect and awesome in all the wonderful ways where you go to dinner and it's like we talk about the kids and we talk about the business. We go on a walk every night, rain and shine or snow, whatever. What do we talk about? What's the goals? It's the only time we get alone, right? When the kids are to bed and we'll walk for an hour and it's like, hey, checklist of what's going on with the kids. What are the goals with the business? What are you doing? But it's weird, right? When it's like, you just got to figure out the dynamic. And the dynamic for me is, Rach, you're the visionary, and she's unbelievably good at style and what's on trend, and she has a vision of what she wants, and she is the most hardcore go-getter of all time. Like, I thought I was, and then I started working with her, and I'm like, dude, you're the toughest boss I've ever had. And not only that, like, there's no barrier of what's appropriate or not appropriate. And that's shit, and you're shit. so fix it. Like, okay. But that's like our dynamic, that's fine. You know what I mean? But like, whew, you know, like it takes a little bit of like getting used to it, figuring out like, okay, what can we actually say to each other? Because like in the corporate setting, like there's boundaries. Personal life, there's no real like really there's no real boundaries. And so there's just it takes a minute to figure out like, what are you really good at? What am I good at? What's your vision? What's my vision? And it's turned into like, and I feel like the best thing is like, I'm actually risk adverse compared to her. And so I don't know if I'd recommend everybody start a business with their spouse, but for us, it actually works really well because she's the one that's like, go, 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 go. It's too slow. And if I didn't have that, I don't think it would get to where it's going. If it was just me, I think I'd be risk averse. Like, it's good enough, you know? So I feel like I would recommend it, but you also got to know what you're getting into a little bit to where it's like, hey, look, like you're going to have conversations that like are business, strictly like business. You can't be offended by this, but like that, how you're doing this is not working. Your vision of this is off. That piece that you made is not going to hit. And you have to be okay with that, you know? Which I like, I have an attitude of like, Rachel, you're the boss. Just tell me what to do. I'll do whatever you tell me. I bring it to you, then you tell me what's good or not. I'm here to make money. You're here as the visionary. And like, that's provided a happy balance for us of like, she doesn't want to talk to the factories. She doesn't want to make the tech pack. She doesn't want to do all that stuff. It's like, okay, I'll do all that stuff. You just tell me, what are you envisioning? I'll go get it done, and then you approve everything.
You're going to fill in the blank for me.
Yeah.
You're going to start a business with your significant other. Don't do what?
Dude, that's a good question.
I'll give you mine. We stopped talking. We had no bringing up the business in bed. Period.
Yeah, I
could see that. If they had
a
question, if you had a question or something popped in your mind, it literally got to the point where it was like, hey, you want to come get a drink of water with me? It's like, no, I'm in bed. And it's like, no, come get a drink of water. And it's like, oh, she's got a business question.
Yeah.
You know, it's like she's just trying to get me out of the bed so she can ask the question because she knows like the bed's off limits for business.
Yeah.
Which just allowed us to have a little bit of us time where it wasn't just 24/7. And there was just a season of that. There was a season where that's all we did, like you were saying. But you're going to start a business with your significant other. Don't do what?
I would say don't stop communicating is probably the biggest thing. And you can't over communicate. I think a lot of couples, ourselves included sometimes, and we've learned this over the years, right? We've been married 13 years, where it's a lot of times I'm frustrated, so I'm going to clam up, and I just don't even want to talk about it. I don't know if you guys like that, but like Rachel gets that way. I get that way where it's like I'm frustrated, like, ugh. Like you can't not communicate. That would be my advice. Like it's better just to be like, hey, like, okay, I love you, you love me. Okay? We know that.
We got that.
I got that. That's grounded. Okay? We're ride or die forever. Your end goal is this, my end goal is this. You know that, I know that. Okay. So let's communicate how we're going to get there. We're not going to be bothered. We're not going to be offended. We're just going to throw out ideas. There's no bad ideas. And we're not going to get at each other because at the end of the day, the end goal is the same.
Are you thinking of one domain in particularly, like just the business? Or are you speaking as a whole? Family, relationship, dating?
I mean, I was thinking about the business in particular, but it does work for everything. Like it works for kids. It works for personal hobbies. Like, do you need a break? Do you need to go do something? Like, let me know. I'll support anything you want to do. But I think not to be like giving couples advice, but at the end of the day, like over communication is better than under communicating. And just realize like your goals are the same. If your goals aren't the same, then you got a big problem. If where you're trying to drive your family and your marriage is not the same, then you got a major problem. But if it's the same, then it can always come with, you can talk about anything, you can say whatever you want, because it's coming with love and intent, and the end goal is purposeful, and we both agree on what it is.
Yeah.
So then it's easier to be like, that stung. Like it's not like we're talking about anything dramatic, but it's just like simple things. Like I created this banner on this website. I'm like, oh, dude, that thing's badass. No, it's not. I'm like, oh. Which, I was like, that's fine. Like at the end of the day, I'm here to make money. So perfect. We'll change it, But it's just little simple things like that. Like over communicate. Do not communicate.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna drive you nuts, drive you insane. You start to build dissonance between each other, and now the business is no longer a good thing for you.
What was your guys' philosophy around growth? Meaning, like, at certain point, you decide to get out of the house, which means you got to go start looking for a warehouse. Is the philosophy, hey, we're going to save up and do it ourselves? Hey, we might take on some outside money. All those kind of, like, what was your philosophy around growth?
This would be where I'm low risk and she's high risk. She would be take as much money as you can, grow as fast as possible. Where I was always like, I got a great job. Like, we're making good money. You know what I mean? And at least at the time. And I guess the philosophy on that was always like, let's grow, but I want to grow it organically. I don't want to take outside funding. I guess the beauty of it was when we first started, I didn't need the money, right? So I didn't actually care about profitability of the business. So
is that because of you had another job?
I had another job.
It was a side hustle, okay.
Yeah, so I had another job. So the beauty of like starting it was just kind of a game. Take the money, reinvest 100% of it. Take the money again, reinvest 100% of it. And you just do it with inventory turns. I bought a collection, I sold it all, now I have twice the amount of money. Now I can do twice as big. How many cycles of that can we do and still organically fund it ourselves? There's no risk. I still got my side job. And then at some point, right, we got to figure out like, okay, how do we exit the side job or the real job and just take this side gig to the next level? And the rule with that was once the opportunity becomes bigger here than it is over here, I'll quit this one. So like with Qualtrics, I saw it IPO and then I saw it go private again. And then I saw it IPO. And I got to the top of where I could go, like professionally for the most part. You know, I was AVP of education. Now this is a $400 million business. Okay, like, where do I go? Unless that guy dies.
You're still in the fuel tank?
Still,
the proverbial fuel tank?
Yeah, I mean, people in orbit. Maybe I was on the falling of the fuel tank. But it got to the point where I'm like, I think I've done everything that I can here. And all the fun events, I've seen it all. So like in terms of like, I'm not that excited about the sale anymore. I've accomplished all of them. I'm not that excited about a future event. I've seen it now twice. So now the opportunity actually looks like this one is the one that's got the trajectory, and this one seems like a slow fall back into the ocean. So at that point, it was like, all right, like this seems reasonable. I'll just switch them. Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
You've scaled. You're not in the first warehouse anymore.
No, yeah.
You're in a new one.
Yes.
Is it time to take on outside money? Is it time to increase some debt, get a line of credit? Or are you guys still bootstrapping it at this point when you move into the new facility, which was how many years ago?
A year and a half.
Year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And how long has Binky Bro been open at this point where you're at the facility that you're at today?
8.5 years.
Okay.
8.5 years.
I want to give people some timeline, like give them a little bit of that context of running through the snow, chasing
man.
man.
People got to know this doesn't happen overnight. There's no like accidental, oops, oh, look, I created this thing. Maybe people strike gold, you know, the clock hits 12 twice every day, you know, but it's like, I think the majority of the time, grit is what really matters. Like so many people are like, I want to start something. Good luck.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you're gritty enough. I don't think you have the motor to just do it. Yeah, so 8.5 years. You know, now you're in a bigger warehouse. What was your question? What was your
question? Like I just get so curious around when it's time to scale and you go start looking at how big is that warehouse?
Yeah, 22,000 square feet.
Man, I thought it was like 12,000 square. 22,000 square feet is huge.
22,000.
And you're going and looking at that, and it's like, okay, here we are.
Yeah.
The temptation. We had a conversation before we started recording. Right? Do you want to be a king or do you want to be rich? And at that point, it's like, man, we've saved this up. We've banked this up. Now our rent's going to be X amount a month. That could be money in our own pocket. What if we bring in a partner?
Sure.
Give me a peek behind the curtains around yours and Rachel's conversation around we need the space or if we get the space, we could grow into it. Sure. Like, take us there. Yeah.
The best thing that ever happened to me was I was in San Francisco and I got served papers for being sued for the term Binky by Edgewell Corporation, who owns Playtex, and they're a multi-billion-dollar corporation. This is the first time I've ever got like served, you know? I've had other issues since, but like most of them, I'd be like, okay, like this is ridiculous. But this one I was like, this is a problem.
What year are you in the business?
Probably 3.
Okay.
You know, so it's like enough to where I'm like, this would be bad. This would be really bad. And the point of this story was like, okay, I've got a few options here. Everything has Binky Bro on it. So I either just like sell it all real fast and we're done, or I just fight this thing. And I still had that other job. So I'm like, let's just fight it. Well, let's just use all the funds in the business. We'll just fight it. And so we got to the point where our argument was like, this is a genericized term. Everybody knows a pacifier is a Binky. Those are synonymous terms. And if you look at the Google rates of how it's searched, like it's genericized. Now, if they lose the trademark on that, now anything that massive company has, all those pacifiers, anything that's got Binky on it, it's no longer valid anymore. So for them, they have a lot of risk. For me, all things considered, $100,000 inventory, something pretty small. So I'm like, let's just go for it. Like, and it worked. Right, so now we have a trademark on Binky and everything's fine, and then Binky Bro or what? No, we don't have a trademark on Binky, but I have a trademark on Binky Bro, and there's an agreement, right, with things like I don't sell pacifiers, and like everybody's happy and we're okay. Through that process, though, I talked to the legal counsel at Qualtrics. I'm like, who's your best trademark lawyer? And they're like, there's a firm out in L.A. This guy named Blake Tierney was like, hey, go talk to my friend out there, and so I talked to her. And anyway, so she's our lawyer for this case or whatever. And then we settle, everything's happy and everything's fine, and it doesn't go to court or anything like that. Like most cases like that, it's 3% chance you actually go to court, right? You just figure out like, here's an agreement, everybody's happy. And she's like, dude, there's this dude that you should talk to. And I'm like, oh yeah, who's that? And at the time, so there's board writers. Board writers is Quicksilver, Roxy, Billabong, Ruka. Who else is in there? Element, DC, Honolulu. They kind of plucked off all the skate companies. We don't need to get into this, but I'm not like necessarily a big fan of that, but they did, and then became board writers. Board writers eventually sold all that stuff, but she's like, hey, there's a couple big dogs over there that you should talk to that I'm also the lawyer for. Let me see if I can get permission to talk to them. And so anyway, so now I have some advisors who've seen it all in the surf, snow, skate industry. And the nice part is they're already wealthy. So they're like, hey man, this is just fun for us. Like we get kicks out of this. Where you're at right now is the fun part. It's like me and Qualtrics. Like the first 3 or 4 years was the really fun part where like you're just trying to figure stuff out. And they're like, dude, we love this. So it's like I use those guys. So to answer your question, like now things get like now that I feel like I have that support system, you go back to this question of like, okay, now how do you really hit the go button? And do you want a lifestyle business, or do you want to get this thing big and then sell it, or get it big and ride off to the sunset, or like what's your intentions? My thoughts have always been I will self-fund for as long as I can. I don't want to borrow any money. I don't want any partners. I don't want to lose equity. But I do want to grow. So now it's like, okay, how do I do that? I need to have people that I've already been where I want to go join me. So
yeah, but Matt,
how does that look?
Why not take a smaller piece of a bigger pie?
Yeah.
Or
no.
No.
Here, I'll tell you why.
That's why.
Because Dave Fisler doesn't respond to nobody and plays five hours of racquetball a day. That's what I want, right? So it's like I'll take out my own personal money and I'll fund it myself. That's not risky, because at the end of the day, what happens? To downsize? I don't really care. I don't need that many things. So I don't actually care. So it's for me, it's like, and not only that, money's cheap. I could go find the guy that was in here before. Hey, you want some of this? Give me some money. Like, you can find people to give you money. I don't care about the money. The money doesn't matter. What I want is your expertise. I want somebody that has done this before. That's intriguing to me. So let me go find the guy that's done this 2 or 3 or 4 times in this space with these huge brands, which I happen to find. I'm like, hey, we should be BFFs. And he happened to magically say like, okay. I don't know why.
Back to who you know.
Yeah, no, exactly. Network does matter. I got sued as the biggest blessing in my life. And now it's like, okay, but it gives me in my mind, okay, like now for me, it's, okay, I want to grow. I want to self-fund. I'm enjoying having a lifestyle business, and I want to keep that. So now how do you grow and keep that? Well, then, okay, I got to self-fund, but I got to find the people who are actual true professionals at this, and I will hire them, and they will do a better job than I'm already doing. And they will grow this thing bigger and faster than I ever could myself, and I view it as no risk. So right now in the business, it's build the infrastructure to scale. That's almost done. Okay, now hit the go button. So now how do you go pluck the main guys in the industry and with the whole board writers thing? There's a lot of guys in the industry who are available. Now go find the very best ones to plug into product development, to plug into marketing, to plug into ops, plug into sales, hit the go button. And I think that's how I can find a balance a little bit of like, I want to do the things that I want to do, the marketing, the fun stories, working with the foundation, which we can talk about. That's enjoyable to me. And then let the real pros actually like technically design clothes.
Yeah.
And I think I can then, I think I'll be able to manage a little bit of like, I can have a lifestyle that I want, but I can allow it to grow by itself as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
You, like visually, like social media does what social media does.
yeah.
But I look at you and I see
What
what
do you
looks
think?
like a pretty good time. You know, like
Yeah.
you did like a, you know, like, oh, hey, I'm going to learn the guitar. Hey, we've got the skate ramp in the warehouse. Hey, we're in Fiji. We're on another island chasing waves, and I'm doing it with my family. Like
Yes.
it's really, what I would believe is attractive to most. Like you are with the people, like you're with your crew
Yes.
in the most beautiful parts in the world, doing what you love. Like,
I'll speak to that because I no, that's calculated. There's a talk called the Decade of Decision. Do you remember that?
No.
It influenced my life majorly. The Decade of Decision. So from about 20 to 30, what happens in that decade? You probably choose your career path. You probably choose your education. You probably choose your professional training. You probably choose a spouse. You probably choose if you have kids. Like 20 to 30, you better be locked in. Otherwise, you're in a rocky road, or you're starting kind of. Time doesn't really matter, but you're gonna feel like you're behind. Which it doesn't. There's no race, but you know what I mean. But like, all things considered, there's a decade of decision making that will change and transform your entire life. Would you agree?
Agree.
Yeah. So 20 to 30, especially in our culture where it's like, yeah, I want to get married. I want to have kids. Like, there's a lot that goes on when you go to BYU, right? And I think of now, this is my doctrine of how I try to live my life with my kids. And there's this meme that's going around, but it's true. I looked it up. I'm like, there's no way that's right. 75% of the time you spend with your kids is done by 12. 90% of the time you spend with your kids is done by 18. That's an average, right? So that's not to say you can't be an outlier, but if you look at the nominal curve, that's the average. Which if you think about it, that's nuts. That's nuts. 75% is done by 12, 90% is done by 18, but I look at my life and I'm like, no, that's right. I moved out at 17, I never moved back, and I see my parents once a year. Like, that's probably accurate, which is scary to me. So a lot of people are like, oh, you go everywhere. Oh, why don't you just go with you and Rachel? No, I'm bringing the crew. Because there's the decade.
Coaching the crew, you're bringing the crew.
I bring it all, everybody. And I view it as there's the decade of decision, and this is Matt doctrine here. Now I say I am in the decade of influence. Like, when were the first memories you had as a kid?
Man, my dad, passing a ball back to me.
What age?
Started at 6.
Okay, perfect. That's your perfect answer. When did you get keys to your first car?
15.
Okay, 15, 16. How long is that? That's a decade. I remember when I drove a 1987 Honda Accord. My dad hands me the keys, and he's like, I can't control where you go. I can't control if you lie to me or not. Don't do anything stupid. Drops the keys, and I'm like, fair. But I would say I had true freedom starting at 16, and I was never home. Never home. Went to practice, went to the beach, was gone, then eventually graduated at 17 early, and then took off. And so for me, I think, okay, I'm in the decade of influence. Your first memories are at 6. My first memories are at 5. I drove cross country in our little blue Chrysler Voyager from San Diego to DC for 3 weeks. And we saw every national monument on the way. Those are my first memories, legitimately, that I can remember, still retain to this day. I was 5 years old. So I'm like, okay, from 5 or 6 to 15 and a half to 16, there's one decade where I have to be locked in as dad. That's the only thing that matters. Growing the business is fun. Making money is fun. Who gives two shits? Doesn't actually matter. My job is, and especially for someone like me, and I'm not to try to be emotional, but we couldn't have kids. We tried for years and years and years and years and years. And then eventually we figured out through IVF, and I put my life savings into that twice to get our kids. I'm like, I really wanted you here. Your college education is your existence. So for me, I take like the Elon Musk approach, where it's like, you owe me nothing, I owe you everything. And so I look at that and I'm like, okay, what do I want this decade to look at? What do I want it to look like? What do I want my kids to learn? What do I want them to experience? And if you know anything about data, which from my days at Qualtrics, I studied this for a long time. How do you find happiness? Is money buy happiness? The two biggest studies, San Francisco State, money does not buy happiness unless you buy your time back. So if you're debating between like a consumer good or time, always choose time. I will pay the kid to do my lawn because I get time. That's rule number one. Rule number two, the second largest study done by Harvard on men's happiness over an 85-year period through divorces and careers and trajectories and all these things. You know what they discovered? You just need 2 to 3 good friends. So you need 2 to 3 ride or dies. Those are my kids and my wife. So for me, I'm like, okay, I'm in the middle of the decade of influence. I want to be able to influence my kids. How am I going to influence them? I got a 10-year period to do it. And I want them to have as many experiences as I could provide. And those could be good or bad. Which the funny part is, like, you look at trips and people are like, why do you take your kids everywhere? I'm like, yeah, sometimes it's really like not that great. Like if you really think about it, like I've been to Costa Rica with the kids. I'm like, we had 4 kids under 3. We bring them all. I have pictures of me on the airplane. I'm carrying the twins and I'm bringing the luggage. And like, why am I doing this? You know, but as they get older, I'm like, look, there's an interesting thing about memories. They're an investment. And if you know anything about memories and study this, it's really, really interesting is like the mission in Glasgow. I just think of my mission as like, dude, I can think of like probably like 12 experiences. I'm like, those are freaking awesome. And that changed my life. But I was there for 40 days? Okay, so 12 memories out of what? So memories are an investment, and they actually get better over time, and they become more meaningful to you over time. And over time, you forget all the crappy things. So take your kids, and they're going to cry, and they're going to whine, and blah, 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 blah. But when you look at the picture book 1 year from now, you're like, man, that was a great time. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it's like, I actually had an advisor. He's like, bro, you got to work more. I'm like, maybe, maybe, but I want to coach my kids. That's a full-time job. But because when I die, that's like, we had a buddy who passed away, and that's what he talked about at his father's funeral. The thing I loved about my dad the most was when he coached me in football when I was a kid. That's the best memories I have. And so for me, it's like, all right, lock in right here, right now, and if all crap falls apart, I downsize, I don't care. You know?
You told me that you weren't going to be this refined conversation.
I would say I'm refined.
You said, listen, it's not going to be all
it's
this,
a bro
man.
ride.
If people need to rewind and backtrack and listen to that 10 times, do it. Like, I talk to people that are up to stuff in the world, and we interview, and that's the message, is that you can feel the regret in their eyes when they chose something different. And I think that there's a way. I believe there's a way to do both. And sometimes there might be some seasons, but like, man, I believe that there will be some form of regret if you pick your head back up and it's like, well, I did it. Yeah. I hit my goals or whatever.
Sure.
And then the kids are out of the house.
When you die, what are people going to say? James got rich? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
You may care because it buys convenience. Money buys convenience, and that's nice. And that allows you to do
convenience
things.
Is nice.
So I'm not going to say like that shouldn't be a goal. But I do think with my philosophy, at least, I'm like, okay, like I have 10 years where I have to prioritize my kids over anything else. I still want to be successful. I still want to work hard. But if I had to choose something, like I have to be okay putting this on pause.
Yeah.
And maybe I missed something or a product is launched late. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
You're wearing a jacket with one of the most notable brands of the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And your logo's right next to it. What are you working on right now that you're excited about? What's next? And
yeah, we're hiring a head of sales. We're hiring a head of product development. Yeah, I mean, our play really is like where we're at. We have 3 major opportunities to grow this thing big, which is wholesale, which is fun because now you're going to be in, we're in 600 stores, but how do we put a lot of gas on that? We have a pathway to do that, so that's going to be exciting. That's a huge thing for 2026.
You're in Shields.
Shields.
My kid just snagged a pair of your sunglasses last week.
I know, Shields is like, I love them. They're like the most old school company, and they're not on the coastlines, which is really weird because it's like a surf no skate company. They're not on the coastlines, but they're like old school. They're like, hey, just send us the inventory, we'll write you a check. I'm like, you guys are the best, actually.
Shields just hit Arizona. I mean, everyone loves it.
Yeah.
And you have your whole own section in there.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So that's fun. So we're like in 630 stores right now. Most of them are boutiques, but it's like, okay, how do you blow that up? how do you add a girl side of the business, which is fun to me and really fun for the wife? You know, because everything's been boy focused. And we have 3 boys, but we have 1 girl. And so it's like, okay, how do I get the right people around me to like, I think you could double this and build out that side. And then, yeah, there's a few new products we're working on, which will hit this next year. But like, yeah, we did a bunch of stuff with Quick, which is super fun. I just got a text from Manny Machado's assistant. We're doing things with the Padres right now. Which the funny part is they're like, we can't find anything good in any Padre gear that's good for kids. Which I'm like, yeah, that's the thing. That's the niche that we fix. So the Padres thing just launched, which at the end of the day, James, it all goes to like, what's fun? What's fun for me? Like, I want my hobbies to be part of the business. That's like surf, snow, skate. That's how it all came to be. The Padres would be fun to work with. That's my hometown team. Let's make that work. Quicksilver, I've loved that brand my entire life. Let's make that work. I got a call with Volcom on Friday. That's like, for me, that's the crown jewel. That'll be fun. But I also love to golf. And so I got buddies at Cobra, which I got hats and stuff that I'll give your kid next year. Where it's like, all right, let's do a line with Cobra. I just try to find the things that I find entertaining and enjoyable to work with. And I'm like, okay, that sounds fun. Speaking about guitars and drums, that's the last one. I got to somehow figure out, how does Binky Bro play in Defender? And if I could do that, then okay, I could sign this thing away and like be a happy guy. But yeah, 2026 I think will be an interesting year for us because there's a lot of things cooking right now, which I think could take this thing like easily double overnight. I think the hardest part is done. If I'm being honest with you, the hardest part is done. The grind. If you can survive those first 2 or 3 years working with your spouse or whatever the situation is and get a little momentum, now the snowball is moving. Now it's a matter of how do you put the right people in the right place. People are much better than you or I at doing their very specific jobs. How do you go find them and then just back up? It's like the Qualtrics approach. Here's a computer. Figure it out.
Yeah.
These people have figured it out. So just get out of their way. Hire them and then get out of the way.
Yeah. You pick your head up. You're now crossed the 8 figures in revenue milestone. Where do people follow you and where can they find you to follow the rest of your story?
Yes. So 2 things. At Binky Bro on all the socials. That's fun. BinkyBro.com is great. I will make a plug for this because it's the most rewarding part of what I do, which is we have a foundation called Legends Are Born Every Day. And it started, just from the whole, I guess at the end of the day, the whole goal of this, I want people to have kids, you know? There's so many resources to get rid of them, which sounds terrible, but it's true. There's not very many resources for people who want them. And for me, it was so difficult to get them that like the whole goal, like Binky Bro, the whole design is a pineapple. Why is it a pineapple? It's a universal sign for infertility. People don't know that, but like every box you get has a pineapple on it. It's very specific and purposeful. There's a reason for that. And it's like, it's near and dear to our heart. We started the foundation. We'll give $100,000 this year, or this week will be over $100,000 in donations for it. But it's the most like enjoyable part of anything that I do. You know what the most fun thing that I do is, hey, got your application. I have some dollars. How can I help you? How can I help you? The first lady I called, not to be like emotional, the first lady I called though, I called her, I couldn't even speak. I started just like bawling. And then like eventually got out. She's crying. I'm crying. I'm like, this is ridiculous. You know, I had like anyways, that to me is like the most enjoyable part of it is like, how can you spend time with your kids? How can you build a business, spend time with your kids? How can you build a business to take your time and your efforts and your energies and your skills to give back to things that you actually care about? And like, to me, that's enjoyable and that's fun. And the foundation has been awesome. You know, it's like, it's still relatively small. We're actually going to join, there's 2 foundations for IVF in Utah. We're going to join the second one this year. I didn't realize this, running a foundation is actually terrible. If I learned anything about business, giving away money is like unbelievably hard, which you wouldn't think so. But it's like, okay, you got to go register with 42 states because you have an Instagram account and you're soliciting money from all these things. I'm like, dude, this is a freaking nightmare. And I hate this. So the foundation is a real thing. We're going to join with the other foundation in Utah and have a Binky Bro Legends Are Born Every Day scholarship where we can still give money. But then I don't have a full-time job of running a foundation, which like is unbelievably like time consuming.
Yeah.
But last year we had 4 live births this year, and then there's another one coming.
Come on.
And there's nothing better than that.
Legends are born every day.
Legendsareborneveryday.org. And the biggest thing with that is I wanted a foundation where I don't take any money. 100% that goes into it just goes straight to a mom who's going through IVF. And then when those people call you, hey, Matt, my kid's now wearing your stuff. You're like, this is rock on.
Yeah.
Anyways, BinkyBro.com, legendsareborneveryday.org. It's a good cause.
Yeah, there's a
million. Sorry.
There's a million ways to make $1 million. There's also a million ways to have an impact on the world, and it's cool to see what you built, man. There's never a doubt that you were going to go have some sort of impact. And, I thought it might be on some wave somewhere, and now it is, but it's with a bunch of little munchkins following along the world, and it's pretty great, man. I think that people, once they get to know you, you're going to be a pretty big inspiration of like, I want that. How do I do that? How do I stay grounded? How do I stay a good person? How do you, I love what you said. Find a couple ride or dies that you can just go create the world that you want to live. Thanks for your time, man. We pulled this together. I know that you were like, oh, podcast, I don't know, but man,
dude, I don't know what to talk about. How the hell am I going to talk about anything for a year and a half? I
love it.
Anyways,
I love it. Well, I hope there's a round 2, and if we missed anything, that we'll cover it. But
follow up in a
those
year.
guys around.
It'll be interesting to see where we're at in a year.
Thanks for your time, man.
Thanks, James.
Appreciate you.